Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for April 11, 2017 is called to order. This certain we have roll call.
Terrell Barnes.
Present.
Chester Jones.
Present.
Jamelba Johnson.
Present.
William Cook. And Kevin Brown.
Present.
We have 3 present and 1 absent. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. We'll continue with the order of the agenda. First order of business is approval of March 14th, 27 minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for March 14th?
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded that we approve the minutes for March 14th, 2017. Was there any discussion? If no discussion, roll call, Ms. Hurd.
Terrell Barnes.
Yes.
Chester Jones.
Yes.
Jamelba Johnson.
Yes.
President Brown.
Yes.
We have 4 yes and 0 no.
4 yes, and the minutes are approved for March 14th, 2017. Second order of business brings us to our public hearing. Public hearing, first item, BZA 1706, Hampton. I cannot pronounce the first name, so. Yeah, come to the podium. The petitioning for a special use permit at 3681 Maryland Street, Gary, Indiana, to establish a home child care facility. Give us just an overview of what we are requesting for the petition.
I'm requesting for the home to be used for child care.
Can you hear?
Can you speak up a little bit?
I'm requesting the home to be used for child care.
Okay. Do you reside at this address, Ms. Hampton?
Yes.
You do, okay. So you have gone through all the licenses and procedure requirements for this?
Yes.
Okay. You have experience of doing this before?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other board members have questions for Ms. Hampton? If not, oh, go ahead, Ms. Johnson.
How many children are you going to be able to provide for?
From 12 to 15.
No, how 12 to 15 children?
Yes.
Okay. What ages? What age?
From newborn to 12, unless they have special needs, then up to 18.
What about your hours of operation?
6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Go ahead, Ms.
President.
Bonds.
How many staff members or assistants, personnel do you plan to have, or are you looking to have?
I will have 2 to 4, depending on the ratio of kids I have.
Ms. Hampton, do you have your license by the state of Indiana? Is it licensed daycare?
Not yet. I have I sent off my paperwork a week ago, and she has to schedule an appointment to come out. But I finished all the requirements and turned all the paperwork in, and I'm waiting on an appointment from Tiffany Key, the licensing consultant.
Okay. All right. So your personnel, they've been trained also that you intend to employ?
I haven't hired anyone yet because I haven't started.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from commissioners? If not, Ms. Hampton, you can have a seat, and we're going to open this up to the public,
Okay.
and we'll bring you back.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of BZA 1706? Anyone here to speak in favor of BZA 1706? Once again, anyone here to speak in favor of BZA 1706? Seeing none, we'll move on. Anyone opposed to BZA 1706? Anyone opposed to BZA 1706? Seeing none, the public portion is closed. Ms. Hampton, come back to the podium. We'll get staff's information and recommendation at this time.
Ms. Hampton, I have a few questions and concerns. First of all, your block is relatively, the residents there are mostly senior citizens, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a halfway house located on that block also?
A halfway house.
Like across the street from your house?
I'm not sure if that is.
You haven't seen any signs of a halfway house
It's
or
not,
anything?
it's not any signs up or anything.
Okay. Do you know who lives in that house across the street from you?
It's an older man. He's tall, dark-skinned man. I'm not sure what's his name, but he's an older man.
Okay. Did you poll any of your neighbors around and about you to see how they felt about a daycare center being at your location?
No, I didn't poll my neighbors.
Okay. You might want to talk to them,
Okay,
especially since they're seniors, to try to give them some sort of ease, because they're more concerned about their safety and things of that kind of nature.
Okay.
Even though we're talking about the younger kids and not teenagers, but, you know, when you get a certain age, they have certain concerns that they need to be put at ease.
right.
The parking, where would they drop the children off at? I noticed there's a vacant lot next door to your house. Is it still vacant?
Yes, it is.
Can it be utilized for them to drop the children off?
Yes.
Are you going to utilize that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now, and also, if you're open past 10 o'clock, you're going to have security cameras. And with your hours being from 6 a.m. to 10, I would suggest that you get those security cameras, because sometimes the parents can't get there at the exact time that you would like them to get there.
Okay.
And you may be open past 10 o'clock. But for your safety as well as for the parents and the children, I would suggest that you get security cameras to go around your house
Okay,
because of your hours. Based upon those, I recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hurt. We've heard staff's recommendation for approval of BZA 1706. Can I get a board member to agree with the staff and say for approval for BZA 1706? You move for approval? Just get a second?
Second. Now, is this approval based on?
It's
her-
approval based upon her getting the security cameras
Based on the, okay.
and providing the ample parking for the
All right, thank you.
parents.
Second.
We have a second for approval pending that Ms. Hampton meets the requirements that staff has outlined and recommended. If there's no further discussion, roll call, Ms. Hurt.
Tara Bonds,
Yes.
Chester Jones,
Yes.
Jamelba Johnson.
Yes.
Kevin Brown.
Yes.
The vote is 4-0 for approval.
With 4-0 approval, Ms. Hampton, you do have a provisional approval. You will have to meet those recommendations that the staff has pointed out. At that time, she will check with, does she have to go before City Council?
Yes, you will be scheduled to go to make your first appearance before the City Council on April the 18th at 6 p.m. and it's at the same location.
All right?
Okay.
You have that information, understand? Any
Yeah,
questions?
you'll get a notice.
You check with Ms. Hurt, okay?
Okay, I have to have security cameras by the 18th?
That's part of your approval. No, don't, as long as you have them before you open.
Okay,
And those are gonna be based upon you getting the cameras. So I would suggest that you try to get some pricing on the cost. And with the council, when they ask you that question, you will have some information to give them.
okay,
And then you could always get with me later on.
okay,
Okay?
yes,
Thank you, Ms. Hampton.
thank you.
Next order of business on the agenda, BZA 1707. Dr. Renencia Williams is petitioning for a special use permit at 2149 Adams Street, Gary, Indiana, to establish a group home for formerly homeless men. If present, please come to the mic, state your name, and give us an overview of your petition.
My name is Dr. Renecia Williams, and I am proposing to have a group home at 2149 Adams Street.
Do you have a copy of the petition?
Yes, I did. Do you need? No. Do you stay at this home, Mrs. Wu?
No, sir.
Okay. You own the property?
Yes, sir.
You own the property? Okay.
The ownership is with Planted Seed Ministries, where I am the CEO.
Okay. I did go over briefly. So you're, what'd you say, 6 men?
Yes, sir.
6 men, okay. How will you choose those men?
The men will be chosen from, we have individuals that frequent the hospitals for shelter. We have individuals that frequent the jails because they're homeless. So there will be a collaboration with community providers and the reentry department with the Lake County Jail for, and the courts for misdemeanor people that qualify for that as well.
So in other words, there'll be a collaborative, joint effort from recommendations, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions from the other board members?
Dr. Williams, I heard you say misdemeanor. Would that also include felons?
No, we want to address the population that is in jail simply because they're indigent. And we have, I don't know if you guys have the sheet, but we've had 1,898 inmates in the Lake County Jail, and most of them were arrested simply because they failure to identify. They didn't have an ID, sleeping in public places. And so unfortunately, the county jail has become a dumping ground for individuals that simply just need some support and guidance and help.
Is your staff, your trained staff, will they have to be certified or licensed by the state to work?
Yes, the whole facility will need to be licensed by the state. We will have an MD on staff, a clinical therapist. We will also have a case manager to help them with, their basic needs, and we'll have 2 techs, so it'll be 24 hours. The techs will serve as mental health techs to make sure that, medication is taken properly, because a lot of our people that are found homeless like this, they need medication and they need structure. And it's just not the jail and the emergency room in the corner and public places. It's just not a place for them to continue to live.
Okay, have you acquired all the license from the state in the
Yes,
city
sir.
to operate this facility?
Yes.
Already?
No.
You're in the process?
Yeah, we're in the process of doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to go through this process
Right,
first.
okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I don't know if you said it or not. What are your qualifications?
My master's is in social work. My doctorate degree is in divinity. I am currently the reentry director for the Lake County Jail. I started off as reentry in the Department of Corrections. I have like 15 years with management of supportive housing in Chicago with Heartland Human Care Services. So I've been in this field for over, hate to say it for my age, but about 20 years now.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Mr. Bond.
What type of qualifications exist or will exist that will either qualify or potentially disqualify a potential resident?
The potential resident must be, first of all, in need of housing. Most of the individuals, because I play that role now as the reentry director, most of them have been diagnosed with some type of slight mental illness. When I say slight, we're not talking about acute. We're talking about individuals that are in our general population in the jail, but they just needed the medication to go, to get into their system so they can be more semi-independent. So that's why we'll have the MD to make sure that, meds are taken properly. We'll have the clinical therapist for treatment planning, and then we have the techs to monitor that, and then we'll have the case manager for any recreational or anything additional that they would like to do.
Where is your financing coming from?
Through the state certification, that's where the financing
It will come through?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And with the licensed staff, that's, that we would need for the state certification, that's how the money comes through. Yes, sir.
This group home that you are anticipating, is it similar to the home that we have at 24th and Clark Road, where we take people so they, before they're arrested, go directly to jail? We sort of make medicine and analytic things available to see if they're just outright criminals or if they have a mental problem. Is that what you are duplicating?
No, sir. I think you're speaking of the RAC Center.
Yes.
That center is actually supposed to be a alternate route from the jail. So if you see an individual in the community that may appear to have a mental illness, the officers are, supposed to take them to the rack versus to the jail, but that doesn't happen all the time. Mine will be a supervised group home where the individuals are actually referred either through the county jail, emergency shelter. We can get them from emergency shelter. We can get them from a caseworker that's calling from the hospital. So it's totally different. It's not like a drop-by center. Once you're approved to come in and live, that's where you live.
Ms. Williams, so they will be able to stay there indefinitely?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions from our commissioners? If not, Mrs. Williams, you can have a seat. Dr. Williams can have a seat, and we'll open this up to the public. Anyone here in favor, to speak in favor of BZA 1707, come to the mic, please. Anyone to speak in favor of BZA 1707, please come to the mic. Once again, anyone in favor of speaking of BZA 1707, come to the mic. Seeing none, is there anyone against BZA 1707? Come to the mic, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Nowacki. I live in the 2nd District, and I've been attending these meetings for many years. Some of you have been on the commission longer than others, and many people who watch these meetings know that on a regular basis, many times a year, we get petitions, generally petitions that are approved for assorted group homes, homeless shelters, et cetera, throughout the city. While we keep no central registration for these facilities, we know that they are all over the city. Since I've been attending these meetings, I would guess that there have been several dozens of these facilities. And I would just suggest that while we are probably well served with some of the facilities, and we certainly do need these, we are also aware that there is a proliferation of these facilities in this community. There may be reasons for that. Perhaps one of the reasons is that we have become a dumping ground for these type programs. Would I like to see the list of these type of facilities in Munster or Highland or Valparaiso or Chesterton? Sure, and I can tell you what that list would be. They have none of these facilities. So while I would encourage Dr. Williams, and I'm certainly glad, and I know that she's her heart is in the right place. She wants some of this. She knows that she would do well spending this state-financed program funds on these individuals who would be eligible for it. I would simply suggest to this board that perhaps Ms. Hurt or someone should actually compile the list of facilities that are already here and direct Ms. Williams that when we have individuals who need these services, that there are any number of facilities that could provide that service. I'm pretty familiar with this block. It's just nearly a block away from the library on Broadway, and we've got the Brothers Keepers facility right there, and I would guess we have some other facilities, homeless facilities for men and for women, scattered all around the city. So I would urge the board to, without knowing the statistics, without having a better idea, is our community already served with these types of facilities? Do we need more of them? And if we don't need more, then we should question why we would approve Dr. Williams's request. I, for one, would feel comfortable in saying that we've got as many as we need and perhaps many more, and I think if you were to do a survey of the existing facilities, you'd find many beds available for anyone who would need this service. So I'm going to urge the board to ask Dr. Williams to find a community that is less well provided with these services, and maybe go to Chesterton or Valparaiso or Highland or Munster or Crown Point, and make sure that some of the homeless people in those communities would have these facilities available. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Seeing none other, we will close the public portion and go to staff recommendation.
Ms. Williams, would you return to the mic, please? You said this is going to be a 24-hour facility?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you two also will have to have security cameras installed at your location. Will there be any substance abuse people in that facility?
During the assessments, that may come up, yes. Typically, mental illness, homelessness, and substance use run together. We would not discriminate
Okay.
against a person
Okay.
who's had substance abuse issues in the past, but with the licensed support team, it won't be tolerated on the premises.
Approximately how many residents are currently still living in that area?
We had three people on the block. Out of the three, one moved, went to the nursing home a couple of weeks ago. So there's 2 people on the block, the entire block.
Okay. And one other question. What will you base the qualifications or your approval on?
The indigency, the ability to live semi-permanently independently. We will not allow anyone that's in an acute state to reside in the residence, because that's not what our setup will be like. So they have to be able to function with medication.
Okay. Well, we did mail out 40 notices to addresses that are within 400 feet radius of that particular address. And we got 1 letter back that was opposed, and 5 came back returned, insufficient address, no such address, things of that nature, undeliverable. And the rest, we just didn't hear anything from anybody. So based upon this, I recommend approval.
All right.
Could I ask a question? Having experience that those particular issues, working in social services, why that area? And I'm just asking, why that particular area? Why here in Gary? Why?
The particular area, to meet the guidelines for HUD or any other license, any license that we're seeking for the home, you have to be close to a bus stop. We're right on the corner of we're a couple of blocks away from 21st and Broadway. The mobility of it, being able to move around, and with keeping up with the data, with the job that I have, we need it. We need it. Most of our people that are, because we have a mental health court in Gary, right here in Gary. Most of our individuals that we're serving right now are from Gary that are homeless and being arrested for trespassing.
You're saying most of your residents would be Gary residents. Now, when I worked, it was different. It was not Gary residents. It was everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere in Lake County.
I mean, has that changed where your residents who you're going to be bringing in is going to come from Gary or from every place else? Because I'm with Mr. Nowaki about how they would dump, because I worked in that particular area, and they would dump people from everywhere where they wouldn't take them any other place, and they would dump them here in Gary.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
We have
And I'm very familiar with that.
We have a lot of our residents that sleep in Methodist Hospital. We have a lot of our residents, the shelters are only designed to have you sleep overnight. Those individuals are walking around in the community all day with no money, no resources, and they have to come back at sundown to vouch for a cot. And if there's no cot, they're in the community, and most of the time they're arrested.
So these residents are already walking around in this city, the city of Gary. That's where you're picking them up from. They're already walking around. They're homeless in Gary, not
Yes, ma'am.
homeless in someplace else.
Yes, ma'am, they're homeless in Gary.
I have another question.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
How many people does your facility, or will your facility house at one time?
We're going to start with 6.
Okay, and are you going up to a certain number?
Well, when I say start, we want to start this program off with 6 beds,
Okay,
6 rooms. I don't want to call them beds.
okay.
Mr. President,
Go ahead,
I got
Ms.
a question.
Commissioners, please speak up so everybody can hear you.
How would the individuals actually, I don't know if I want to use the word apply, I'm going to assume that you'll be working in concert with community agencies, hospital, et cetera. How will they actually get an opportunity to meet with you, speak with you, to qualify, participate, apply, if I'm using the proper terminology, for one of these 6 beds?
I'm a member of the Northwest Indiana Continuum of Care with Dr. Sharon Liggins, which is a group of individuals that service providers throughout the region, data sharing, them being aware that the house is available. Like I said, a partnership with the Reentry Department, with the Lake County Sheriff's Department, going to public meetings. That's how it'll really get out, is through the Northwest Indiana Continuum of Care, because you have providers from the hospital everywhere at that particular meeting. Courts, sometimes judges don't want to have someone in jail because they were homeless. They would rather put them in a facility because it's not a crime to be homeless.
So they won't necessarily be congregating outside the facility seeking assistance?
No.
Because what happens once the 6 beds are occupied and spoken for, there won't be any loitering of homeless or individuals seeking help outside the home or the area or the residence?
No, sir.
Okay.
You said that there were 2 other houses that were occupied on that same street.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you talk to them about it?
I talked to one neighbor. The other neighbor, I couldn't.
What did that one neighbor say?
They were for it.
Dr. Williams, let me ask you a question. You talked about background checks. Will there be any effort to monitor sex offenders who try to get into the program?
Sex offenders do not qualify.
Okay. All right. Any other
That's a
questions?
felony. So, I mean,
So
yeah.
you did say misdemeanors, I'm
Yes.
sorry. You did say, okay. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Ms. Hunter, what office would be able to tell us how many group homes we do have in the city?
I would have to do a search. Yeah, I have to check with the number of social service agencies and see what I can find out.
I appreciate it, okay. We do have staff's recommendation for approval, correct? Yes. For approval. If there's no further discussion, can I get a motion to accept staff's recommendation for approval?
So moved, Mr. President.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second. With a motion of approval and a second, we do move for approval. If there is no further discussion on that, roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Terrell Bonds,
Yes.
Chester Jones,
Yes.
Jamelba Johnson,
I'm going to abstain.
Kevin Brown.
Yes.
We have 3 yes and 1 abstention.
3 yes, 1 abstention. BZA, I'm sorry, get it correct. BZA 17, what do we have here? I'm sorry. 07 has been approved. If you have to go before City Council also?
Yes.
You have to go before City Council also to present this. You do have approval from this board. Good luck, and hopefully the endeavor will work out for yourself and the community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Is there a date for the?
Yes, sir.
April 18th. April 18th.
April 18th.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next item on our agenda, BZA 1708. John Young is petitioning for a special use permit at 3400 West Central Avenue, 2000 Central and Dakota, and 2000 Central Avenue to establish a motor cross track. Are they present? Please come to the mic, Mr. Young, and give us an overview of your petition, please.
I'm petitioning to turn a approximately 40-acre farm field into a motocross track for motorcycles and quad runners.
You said motorcycles and what else? That's it, motorcycles?
Quad runners,
Oh, so 4x4s, those type of things? Or,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, off-road vehicles.
Off-road vehicles, okay, all right. Have you done this type of business before?
No.
No? All right. So what is your motivation to try this business?
3 little boys.
Oh, okay.
But no, my son went to a birthday party years ago. His buddy got a quad. So I, of course, bought my son a quad shortly thereafter and found out how difficult it is to find a place to legally ride a quad runner. It's next to impossible without traveling an hour and a half from here. And
So that was basically your motivation? Huh?
that was it.
Will you enlist any help of people who have done this before, or will you just try to go on your own with this business?
Well, I go and I take my kids to these places very frequently, and I pay, and
So you have an idea of how it runs and the financing of it?
yes.
You will be financing this whole thing by yourself?
Well, it just depends on how well it goes.
Well, I'm saying you own the land already?
Yeah, I have the land already,
Okay.
and I have a construction company, so I have machinery too.
Oh, okay.
So
you just
I'm
need a-
lacking dirt,
Oh, okay.
to build, little ramps and stuff.
Oh, okay. So, in other words, you have a design and all set that you showed us in your
Yeah,
plan?
I mean, it's minimal.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Young, how will you regulate safety? Will it be like fenced? If you live in Valparaiso, correct?
Yes, I do.
If you're in Valparaiso, will this track just be left open for anybody to have free access to?
No, it would be a pay track, and as a matter of fact, I submitted a drawing, and there'll be individual tracks, let's say, and a lot of them are going to be geared towards kids, teenagers and younger, and they will be sectioned off with, just to give you a terminology, they're called coffin blocks, and what they are is they're 2 foot by 2 foot by 6 foot concrete barriers, so that you don't have grown men with, enormous ATVs riding next to little kids. And like I said, I think the drawing shows 13 different tracks. And then also there are state regulated rules that you have to follow. But still, you can tell kids, do this, don't do that. And, there's still, if you've ever been to a go-kart track, not that I'm doing go-karts, but kids inherently like to push the limits.
What would be your hours of operation?
Hadn't really
you
thought
have
about that. Kind of like a dusk to dawn type thing.
Okay.
So you would have trained staff, staff would be there during hours of operation?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Will this be just seasonal, summer months, or spring to summer, no winter months?
Oh, no, it's all year.
It's all year?
Yeah,
Okay.
Obviously, weather dictates, people wanting to get out and do that, but it
But,
is,
yeah, if the weather permits, it would be open year-round.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking, you'll be open year-round?
it's year-round, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners?
I'm trying to figure in my mind where this place is. It's in Hobart Township. I'm thinking Marshalltown. That's not 3,400, and that's...
It's east of Marshalltown, it's
East of-
further out.
Right, further.
Yeah, it's exactly
Out by
east of Marshalltown.
Malibu Park or Bellevue or whatever that park is, that far?
Yes.
Closer to Lake Station, correct?
Close to the lake station
Yeah,
now.
yes.
Oh, okay. That's, when I Googled it, that's what
Yeah.
came up. So that's what came up, that it was right next to Lake Station.
Correct.
Okay,
The property butts up to the ramp from Central Avenue to get onto 8094.
right.
My property butts that ramp. runs parallel to 8094, and then I-65 is behind it.
Right.
And then on the other side is railroad tracks and wetlands.
All right.
Is there any active traffic surrounding the perimeter? I think this would be the south side, if I'm looking at the,
If you're using the word traffic, no.
okay,
There are cars that drive by occasionally,
right.
but no such,
But none of the tracks would be in any type of, or no possibility of heading in that area, right?
right.
Okay.
On that same note, so you wouldn't have to make any special egress and ingress for traffic. People that want to use the traffic flow would be, is already big enough to accommodate the
Oh,
increase?
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because like I said, I Googled it. I saw it, but I'm not sure if the roads there are up to par or sustainable wide enough for that type of traffic.
It's just, I mean, a pickup truck with a trailer,
Okay.
most guys, if they ride by themselves, just put their quad runner or motorcycle in the back of their pickup,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
but, you know, you need a small little trailer if you're going to bring one for your son or something.
Okay.
So you say the 94 overpass is between that parcel and Marshalltown?
Yeah, exactly. The only thing that divides my property from Marshalltown is the I-65 overpass. Yep.
Any other questions? Pastor, if you had any questions?
Oh, staff.
Mr. Young, have the scene open up to the public. Anyone here to speak in favor of BZA 1708, please take the mic, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name's Jim Nowacki. I live in the 2nd District, and I walk down Central Avenue regularly on my way to Hobart and other places. I would bring to the board's attention that most recently there's been a lot of talk about the work being done by the Little Calumet River Basin, and they talk about the extensive natural habitat that surrounds the parcels on the 2000 block of Central Avenue. They talk about some areas that are almost primordial in that you see nesting, rare nesting birds. You see some fishermen go down there to do fishing along the river there, and the Little Calumet River Basin is sort of promoting that as a area where you can enjoy habitat that you didn't even know was there. In other words, it's off the road. There's a way to get down there, and you find an area that almost looks like you're in the middle of wilderness. I have no problem with the use of adjacent property for a motocross track. Motocross racing is one of the fastest growing sports. It's an international sport, and you see, and it's very popular in many places. And I'm sure that once you give Mr. Young approval from this board, there will be any number of other opportunities for people who are concerned about preserving the natural habitat, the eagle nesting areas, the places where local fishermen go fishing. So these are, while they might be in some ways you'd look at them seeing being exclusionary, I think this board just has to look at the area and say, and look at Mr. Young's. Certainly, it's an interesting use for his property, but I think Ms. Hurt and others will be looking carefully at how that's going to impact the use of all of those public and privately owned properties, which have, you know, a use that might not be exactly complementary to motocross racing. But I encourage Mr. Young to pursue his idea for motocross racing, because I know how many people also enjoy that sport. But there is a conflict between the two uses. In one, you've got the natural setting. It's being developed by any number of, through any number of existing uses, fishermen, bird watchers, hikers, naturalists, and then, of course, you have Mr. Young with his, with a matter that might not be exactly complimentary. I'm going to urge the board to give him his permit, but I'm going to watch carefully to see what the arguments are being made by people who are equally passionate about the uses on adjacent properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else to speak in favor of BZA 1708? Seeing none. Anyone here to speak opposed to BZA 1708? Anyone here to speak against BZA 1708? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll close the public portion. Mr. Young, you can come back to the podium. Ms. Hurt can give us your findings and staff's recommendation.
Yes, I did send out letters to what few residents are within that area, which came to a total of 3, and we did not get anything back. Would there be any concern for noise level?
Been riding there for a year, haven't heard anything, but as things progress, though, because again, dirt is free, and I do intend, not for noise, but for more aesthetic views, of putting a 8 to 10 foot mound around, the property, and then eventually, putting the trees along the top of it so that
Noise mitigation.
it looks good. And if there were issues, just to be courteous to possible neighbors or noise, because obviously noise is dictated by how many people are there, and not knowing, how popular it may or may not be. But that is the intent. But there again, I'm bordered by a train and wetlands to the north of me, 8094 on the longest portion of me, and I-65 directly behind me. I can't see disturbing anyone, and if they are disturbed, the train makes a lot more sound than anything I could generate.
I do understand. Okay. Okay, well, staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hurt. Commissioners, you've heard staff's recommendation for approval for BZA 1708. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve BZA 1708. If there's no further discussion, Ms. Hurt, can I have a roll call?
Terrell Bonds,
Yes.
Chester Jones,
Abstain?
Jamelba Johnson,
Yes.
President Brown.
Yes.
The vote is 3 yes and 1 abstention.
3 yes, 1 abstention. BZA 1708 has been approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. I would assume you have to go before the City Council?
Yes.
You have to go before the City Council for further approval.
April
And,
18th.
April 18th, and be there to present, once again, present your case and have whatever further information you have about the property and your business idea. Thank you, Mr. Young. Good luck to you. Seeing nothing else on the agenda, I will call for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Move saying that we adjourn this meeting, BZA meeting for April 11th has been adjourned.